Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tardis Zone. And this is the Tardis Zone Talks, and I hope you're all doing very well indeed. Christian will be joining us very, very soon. But we've got some Red Nose Day promo photographs to show you a little bit later on. But we're going to talk a little bit about Doctor Who Redacted. The original creator has been replaced. Also, we're going to talk about Chris Chibnall. Chris Chibnall saying that he has ruled himself out for ever returning to Doctor Who, and has been met with a mostly positive response by fans out there, because a lot of people do believe he is responsible for the state that the show is in. And the fact that he has the arrogance anyway, but we'll get a little bit into that in a minute. Yeah, there was a bit of snow here. We all had snow. It's melted now, but the way the weather was going on, you think it was the end of the world. It's always the same with these people. Um, they overreact. It's weather, man. Get over it. We have some years where we have very cold springs, and even going into early summer. It happens. So yeah, we got some Red Nose Day photographs to show you, but let's get into Doctor Who Redacted. So Doctor Who Redacted is an audio series, as you know, that was announced. I think a couple of years ago now at this stage, and there was a lot of controversy around it. But I'm not getting into the controversy part of it, because I've listened. Obviously, I listened to the first couple of ones, and I wasn't a fan, let's just say. But it's been renewed for a season, for a second series, and the original creator has been replaced. And I don't know if there's any of you guys in the chat that have actually listened to this, but apparently, it has its fans, and there are people out there obviously who don't like it. So producer James Coss has taken over. He's done some work on Doctor Who and stuff like that, and Torchwood and other stuff like that. So yeah, apparently the original creator has come out and said on her Twitter profile that she was replaced and wasn't even told. Um, and Yeah, so as I said, it has its fans and it doesn't have its fans, but I don't want to harp on it too much. But it is some Doctor Who news. It is related to Doctor Who news. The only thing that I would say about it is maybe your woman being replaced by James. Maybe it's to get this audio series probably in line with what's about to come. I don't know. I'm only speculating, but I do find that very interesting. Have to be honest. Peter said in the chat, yes, it was poor. As I said, I don't know, because I only heard the first one. I think they released the first one free, wasn't it, or something like that. Um, or people were throwing it up on Twitter, and that's how I was able to uh, listen to it. But I have to say, I wasn't a huge fan. But as I said, it seems to have some fans out there. But it is interesting that the original creator is replaced. That doesn't normally happen. So I don't know what's going on there. but you know, stuff is happening behind the scenes. Anyway, Warped Eyebrow too says, Warped Eyebrow says, redacted. I've never heard of it, so I don't know it. Peter says, I've forgotten how what it was about, the story, and I listened on BBC Four Extra. Yeah, apparently it was, the doctor or something was missing or something, and the whole premise is people that have interacted with the doctor and how their lives or something were affected and stuff like that. But there was other stuff going on in it anyway. The usual politics, as we would say. But as I said, I don't want to get bogged down on it because I did report on it when it first came out. And to be quite honest with you, it's not that I'm into. So unless people want me to keep talking about it, I will, but I just have to be honest. I won't be listening to it, so there'll be no point in me actually giving a comment on it. But I did see this, and I did find it interesting that it has been renewed for a second season or series, whatever you want to call it, because I have heard a lot of bad stuff about it. But at the same time, as I said, it does have its fans, or does it? How are you doing today, Noel? Yeah, I'm actually quite good. The weather is a bit all over the place. There's a big Dublin derby on. As you know, I live opposite a football stadium, and I can see right in. And their local team is playing another local Dublin team, so it's a big Dublin derby. So it's going to be mad around here when we're streaming at 9 o'clock. So yeah, that's that. That's all I really wanted to say on that. To be quite honest with you, there's nothing else now really to say on redacted. But let's get into this. The next one, the next topic of conversation. We leave Chris Chibnall to last. No, actually, we will do Chris Chibnall now because I want to leave the last. Have to leave the last. I want to leave the red nose stuff to last because that's a happy way to end the stream. So, for anybody that doesn't know, Chris Chibnall has been recently talking in podcasts and the newspapers have been reporting on it. And he recently came out and said, I'll put the headline up. Anyway, as I said, the links to these articles are in the link description, by the way. Just want to make that clear. Because and anyway, I don't read these full articles anymore. You have to be careful on YouTube nowadays. As I said, if you know how to play the game, there is no issue. So we'll just breeze through this. Really, I'll just show you the article, and then we'll just talk about it. Basically, so Chris Chibnall insists there's no prospect of him returning to Doctor Who. The former showrunner has no plans to write any more episodes. Right, so we won't get into the details. Right, the fact that he has said he's not returning. Right, now I don't know what kind of reaction. By the way, Christian will be with me in a few minutes. He's just rebooting his computer. So we just have to wait and see. You're just going to hear a few football fans now starting to sing their songs out there. So if you hear that in the background, I do apologize. If you hear any bad language, I do apologize ahead of schedule. Let's hope YouTube take it that way. Anyway, I don't know what kind of response he was expecting. Now, I spoke about this on the members stream. I'll get Christian's view on it when he comes on. But I have to say, I don't think he really needed to say that because fans don't want him back. I don't know if this is ego or what it is, but he didn't have to tell us. The fact of the matter is, he ruined Doctor Who. Um, the fact of the matter is that no fan in their right mind would want him back because under him the show nosedived. And people can defend it all they want. People could say that they liked it. The fact of the matter is this show didn't reach the heights of other or previous eras of Doctor Who, right? The audience walked away, fans walked away. So they can talk about how successful it was and all of that, right? It doesn't, it's irrelevant, right? If it was successful, Chris Chibnall's be still in a job, right? They wouldn't be going back to RTD. And remember, he never knew that RTD was coming back. So here he is. He's joining me now. We got Christian from The Legend of the Traveling Tardis. And on that point, welcome anyway, Christian. But on that point, Chris Chibnall making the announcement like that, you know, not going to write any future episodes of Doctor Who. I mean, is it delusion? Is it ego? Or does he genuinely think that he's done a good job on Doctor Who? Because I don't know why you'd come out and make the fans don't want him back. I've seen the reaction online. I've seen YouTubers talk about it, and the reaction is brilliant, great. Can we have that in writing? Can we, you know, can we have because to a
It's
lot of fans, look, as I said before you come on,
uh
we do know that this era of Doctor Who was liked by some, right? But the majority didn't. It doesn't matter which way it's spun, right? The bottom line is, if it was successful, Chris Chibnall be still in a job, and Jodie Whittaker would probably still be the Doctor, right? They wouldn't be going back to RTD. And remember, Chris Chibnall also did say that he didn't know he was being replaced by RTD. So, I mean, what's your reaction? What? How do you feel about Chris Chibnall saying he's not coming back to write future episodes of Doctor Who? Are you okay with that, or are you one of those? Well, maybe down the line, maybe if he hones his skill.
no, to me, he should write Broadchurch. He should write drama. He's very good at that, and he's proven it in Doctor Who that he's great at writing drama.
No, you're right.
He has no purpose in writing sci-fi, and that I
No,
think takes a bigger skill. I'm not downing drama or drama writers. He's good. I mean, Broadchurch was a complete success that had made its way to America in a new format. So, and
yeah,
even I mean, it was a huge success. But that's where his strength is at. And if you watch Doctor Who closely enough, you can see where it just like when I'm seeing like classic eras like RTD and Moffat, it's always go 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 go. Now there's moments where you have that drama, but it's always supporting the next go 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 go. Even when like Bad Wolf, when the Doctor lost Rose and Bad Wolf is a
yeah,
good example. I mean, like that was a slow down emotional thing. Next thing you know, boom, Catherine Tate's in the TARDIS. I mean, that's when you have those slowdowns, it kind of picks up for the next thing. When you had Chris Chibnall writing it, it felt like he was writing, all of a sudden they'd be run, 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 and they run into a coffee house, and 10 minutes they were just talking. I'm just like, wait a minute, what happened to everything that went on outside?
yeah,
So, I mean, if Doctor Who ever moves to a dramatic, maybe I'll ask him back. But I, first of all, I think it's just company brand when you come to the politics of things, when it comes to companies and organizations. Even if it was a complete disaster, they're always out there, like Leslie Nielsen in The Naked Gun with the fireworks explosion going on in the background. Nothing to see here. Nothing. There's nothing wrong here. Because if they even admit slightly, you live in a world right now where just even the slightest apology is going to get you viscerated. It's going to tear you apart. So you have to pick it up as though that nothing had happened. I think the best person about this, as far as creativity, is in another genre, Rick Berman, when he was over at Star Trek, when he wrote, Enterprise. when he was helming that in the last episode, everybody ripped him apart, and he apologized. He's like, yeah, we tried to take a chance, it didn't work out, and then the fans spoke. So when it comes to Chibnall, well, first of all, he came back and said, I don't think the new person is going to address the timeless children. I don't think anybody in their right mind would even touch that unless they really have something good to back it up with, which it just kept. Flux killed it. I mean, there might have even been a chance to just leave that alone, like the Valyard, where it's just like, this is an unexploded continuity bomb that we know is sitting in a corner somewhere. We're just going to leave it alone. And then if somebody who is really skilled has the right idea to support it, we'll bring it back out for a little bit, and maybe we'll hint about it. But the Timeless Children was not even a good device, let alone a good story. And Flux nailed the final coffin into it. People who were sitting on, that I knew that were sitting on the borderline of the Timeless Children, said Flux killed it for them. Flux made it even worse. And the whole Tatooine, what's her name? Story should have just left it alone.
Yeah.
Because it became this disconjointed story that had nothing to do with the Time Lords. It had nothing to do with Lungbarrow. It had nothing to do with, the other. It just seemed like it was just disconnected. And everybody was pointing, oh, look, Chibnall master plan. Chibnall. And I was like, well, we interviewed Chibnall and he says no. I mean, Cartmel, and he says no. So, I mean, like, it just didn't work. He pushed something in there that didn't belong to be in there. And you tried to make the Doctor more than he was. And I will argue this argument again, which nobody has yet to shoot down. The Doctor is the Doctor because of the choices he has made, not because he is the chosen one. And I will live and die and breathe by that. That's why you cheapened it with the Timeless Children. It had no bearance to be in there. The Doctor didn't need to be this outwardly character. We knew there was something more to the Doctor. We always did. But we always saw him through the
just not Chib's vision of it.
Correct. I think it was the same thing when I said to we interviewed Matthew Jacobs a while back, just recently, about his new documentary, and we were talking about that. And at the end of the episode, I sincerely said, I apologize, Matthew. You should never had your life threatened, let alone Philip Siegel and him had his life threatened. I'm like, come on, no, that should never happen. That's not a true Whovian. That's just somebody who's really insane who shouldn't be doing that. But I said, I think you knew what Doctor Who was to you, but I don't think you knew what Doctor Who was to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we were disconnected. That's why the kiss heard around the Hooniverse, the half mother on your mother, half human on your mother's side. That's where I think it got disconjointed. But he mentioned similar things that Chibnall had brought in, like the cancer bit. And I said, that doesn't work. I mean, that's you bringing it in, but it doesn't work here.
Yeah.
He mentioned that the half human on his mother's side was from his Jewish heritage. And I was like, oh, that's great. It just doesn't necessarily, I think I knew where you were going with this, but it just didn't work. And maybe if it was explained more, but it wasn't something that should have been a one-off, and then we'll explain 2 or 3 episodes down the line. That should have been a little bit pushed out over there. PD, if you like Series 4 of Enterprise, that's fine. I'm actually respecting Enterprise more. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is just going downhill. But now that I revisited it, it's better than Discovery by far. Discovery got me out in like the first 30 minutes. I was done. I was like, oh. And every time I saw all of our friends review Star Trek, I'm like, I cannot tolerate the Kurtzman Trek. Everybody's going like, are you going to watch Picard? No. As long as Kurtzman has a stamp of approval on it, I'm out. When he's gone, I'll look back. Maybe I'll look back later, but right now. Thank you, Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi is life. Tectoon. Tectoon, yeah. I thought that
one of the worst characters ever, man. In my opinion. I mean, you bring in a woman, right? She finds a child. She basically kidnaps that child, brings the child back home. Nurtures that child for a few years, then the child gets pushed off a cliff, right? And then she sees that the child regenerates and then decides, oh, I'm going to stop being a mother and I'm going to be a scientist now and I'm going to start experimenting and murdering this child. I mean, what a message Chibs was trying to send there. I'm sorry, but that's horrible. And I've gotten criticism for saying that, but that is the reality of it.
Yeah,
That's the
mother
reality
of
of
the
the
year
situation.
doing was.
As soon as she injected that child, she didn't know whether that child would keep regenerating. So, in that context, if you look at it, she murdered that child multiple times.
That's true. I mean, that
End of
was a life in
story.
life, and then just to experiment on children, and to make things worse, the Time Lords got the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
with this. And I'm thinking to myself, unless you really burnt all the Black Scrolls, how does nobody on Gallifrey understand this principle? Nobody?
Mm,
Not one person? Not
I know.
Rassilon? Not Omega? Nobody knows. I just Time Lords woke up one morning and said, "Hey, I got 13 lives. Go figure." And even then, I was like, "Why did you get 13? Where did that come out of it?" I'm just like, okay.
I know. Awful, awful. This is why, look, this is why I'll say, I'm kind of glad he has come out and said that he doesn't want it, but I kind of just want to say, I think we all knew anyway, and fans wouldn't want him back. He's just a stain. As far as I'm concerned, he's a bad stain on Doctor Who's journey, and hopefully RTD can bring it back to its glory years because we need good sci-fi. But let's talk about something positive because I wanted to leave this one to last. We don't actually have much to talk about this week because there's not much come out except for obviously Red Nose Day. So for anybody that's not in the UK, Red Nose Day is basically it's another charity thing for kids and stuff like that. It goes to worthy causes and people wear red noses and stuff like that. Don't know if you have actually seen it. It's a thing in the UK. Anyway, Doctor Who, when it came back in 2005, Doctor Who and Red Nose Day are kind of a thing. So we've got some photographs to actually show you guys. And again, the link to these photographs is in the link description. So you can go and check them out yourselves.
And PD, I just want to follow up on your analysis of Enterprise. I think the series started off, it didn't know where to go, and then finally, when it got to the third and fourth season, it finally got off the ground. But at that point, nobody was watching anymore, and it started getting good track because I did see a few of the series in series 3 and 4, and it got good. But it was that last episode where they were tinkering with the idea of crossing over treks, and they didn't even need to kill the engineer. There was no point of that. That was but that's just my opinion on that. I think they were trying to experiment with something, and it just kind of faltered. And I feel bad because Enterprise kind of gets to be the bad stepchild. But yeah, there is some really good Enterprise stuff in there. I can't think off the top of my head, but it's really good stuff up there. Anyway, Unshaven's David Tennant.
There's a photo of David Tennant there. It's a pity he doesn't have an arrow, so I have to keep going out of these and doing it this way, which is a pain, but we'll get through it. So here's the other one. Just want to make sure that you can see it. So there he is with a red nose.
I would be shocked if they didn't do some kind of small episode to bridge up the 60th.
I don't know if they're doing Red Nose Day. What they normally do is there's a skit, and then normally if they have something in the pipeline, they will throw out. Listen, we're due a proper trailer. Remember, we got another teaser. They called it a teaser trailer. The first one was kind of like a TV spot. The second one that we got, which was a bit longer, that's still called a teaser trailer. So we haven't gotten a full trailer. I say there's definitely going to be a skit, whether or not we get something a little bit extra is what everybody be speculating. So here's a photo of David Tennant and Lenny Henry, and Lenny Henry is the one, obviously. It was called Comic Relief, wasn't it?
You think they're doing an like a short with those two together?
It
I'm trying to
could be
think.
those two together. Yeah, well, normally
What's
what
going on
happens
with his
is, well,
eyeballs?
they did a Red Nose Day one with Catherine Tate and David Tennant. That famous sketch that they do was a Red Nose Day sketch. So that kind of stuff happens. Here's another one. I don't, some of the photographs are just slightly the same, so I'll just go to the ones that look completely different. So there's the two of them again. Another look at David Tennant's costume a little bit up close. We can see the tartan going through it. So definitely Scottish roots with his costume this time.
Okay, I got to ask, why the top button? I try that button being fastened at the top really drives me insane. I don't know why.
Now, interesting photograph coming up here though. So he's standing there in the pose that he did when he was up on the cliff, and as you can see stuff in the background there, but there he is again, and again another closer look. I do love his jacket. I'm not gonna lie, I love the coat this time. Really love it. So he's doing these little pauses. Here's another one. He's looking at his watch this time, I think. And you can see the red nose in the background there as well. It's just great to see him back, as I think someone said in the chat there. It's great to see him back. I agree, man. It is. I mean, this is what Doctor Who is all about. There's another one where he's pointing at Lenny Henry's picture with his red nose back in the day. Do you remember the red noses started? They used to put hands on they used to start adding stuff to them, so hands and everything and stuff like that. But there he is, being very serious. It is great to see him back. I say though personally, this should be kind of the last time we see Tennant until another anniversary special, maybe.
Good God, they have a multi-doctor special where they got to bring in 1014 and his meta crisis. The poor guy's going to be running around and doing costume changes like crazy. Poor guy.
There's another one there, same kind of, but doing a different pose. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, look, he's that popular, but sometimes I hate to say we'll have to move on from David Tennant at some stage. You can't keep relying on David Tennant to come back and save the show. But there's another one there. He's got a cheeky little grin on his face there.
Do you think it would have been different if they had a new, and I'll throw this at the chat too. Do you think it would have been any different if they had a new actor do the 60th anniversary, but it was by themselves? Like they would be the 14th Doctor, but for 3 episodes. Do you think it would have made a wildly huge difference? Or do you think we needed David Tennant?
Can I answer that first?
Yeah, well, I'm throwing it at the chats, but of course it's your show, brother.
All right. Well, I think because of how the Chris Chibnall era was received and how badly it done, I think RTD, it was necessary for him to come back. Now, if it had been different and Chris Chibnall actually had done a decent job but decided that his time was up, then bring in someone else and obviously introduce their new Doctor. If they were going to go down this route of Saturday nights and Christmas specials again, then I would have went down that route. But I think David Tennant was necessary. I think it's very clever marketing from the team that's behind all of this, because we've even got the announcements of classic episodes as well. So they're really trying to reach out to every facet of the fandom, plus the general audience. You've got your new Who coming back with David Tennant, and then you've got your classic episodes that are going to be recolored, and we're getting 2 new animated Patrick Troughton episodes or stories apparently as well on top of that. So it's very clever But I don't think it would have been necessary if Chris Chibnall had done his job properly. And I think we would have been looking at a new Doctor, not necessarily bringing David Tennant in. So that's my opinion on it. What does the guys in the chat think? And Christian, what do you think? Because you've asked the question.
Well, I'm looking at PDs. I'm responding to PD with a bit of a waste of regeneration. I don't know about that, PD, because we've had 2 regenerations and I would say they were one-offs, but we had the Metacrisis version of David Tennant, plus we got the War Doctor. And even though he was only truly in for like 1.5 episode, I'm glad he was in there. I'm totally glad he. So for me, I wouldn't say a bit of a waste of regeneration if they use it properly in the way they did with the War Doctor, because they couldn't get Eccleston back, and John Hurt being a doctor, crying out loud. I can't, my geek girl explodes out. That John Hurt was a doctor now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
He,
yeah, it depends upon that. If it was a 3-episode solo Doctor Who, and they wrote it properly, and maybe I would probably wouldn't have gotten like an unknown like Matt Smith. I would have gotten somebody who might have been halfway familiar, not too far like a comedian or anything like that, but somebody maybe like a Shooty who made his bones like in Sex Education and stuff, and probably put him in there for like 3 episodes, and this could be like the Doctor. I don't know if you've ever heard of a fanfic called Doctor Who Devious. This is
yeah.
really digging in. Yeah. Almost like a Devious.
The Pertwee one, the fan one with
Yeah.
Pertwee, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
Yeah,
well,
I
it was
watched it.
between
Yeah.
it was a Troughton Pertwee regeneration. It was like a
Yeah.
midway through, and it was just like,
It
oh,
was
this
trying
is
to
it.
explain, wasn't it? It was trying to explain the whole thing between how it got to Troughton to Pertwee's doctor.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it
But we
was
had this
very.
one-off characterization. And you know what? What about the Watcher? How he how he not revisiting the Watcher with so many ways that the Doctor's been killed off? It's just like, how has the Watcher never made a comeback? And why don't we see it more in when Time Lords regenerate? Why couldn't we have an episode where the Watcher mistakenly thinks they're the Doctor? I wrote a fanfic of that idea. Actually, I used that for the Ronnie as an idea to bring her back, a Watcher who accidentally thinks she's good and then ends up finding out that she's the Ronnie. I have yet to see the whole Devious. I wish I'm sure it's out there somewhere if I tried to look, and I know it's on I think it's on one of the DVDs. I think maybe for Spearhead in Space, but I would, what if we just had one regeneration out there, just like a John Hurt or a Devious, where it's just 3 episodes. That's it. I know it sounds. I see your point of PD where it is kind of a waste, but maybe that's their whole story right there, a key to time story, a trial of a Time Lord story, where it's just that's their whole take. So like the Time
I,
War.
I just got a funny feeling that David Tennant's 60th anniversary is going to relaunch. Obviously, it's going to set
It's a
the
good point.
tone and direction of Shooty's era. I always wanted RTD to keep away from addressing the previous era, but there may be some things in it that will probably fix certain things because I mean, is the universe still destroyed or not? That's still left open. Like, what are we gonna do with that? Like, I mean, what? See, it is gonna have to be addressed, even though I personally don't want it to, but it's gonna have to be because you can't just
It's there.
leave it. It's there. You're right. Me, I would just love it to just disappear, right? But he's not. He can't do that in reality, and I know he can't. But I just hope maybe that's why we're getting these 60. There's a lot of things going on with Neil Patrick Harris's character and other characters that are appeared and stuff like that, and fans have come up with theories and stuff like that. Something's gone wrong, probably gone wrong with the regeneration. That's probably a given. And somehow within all of that, that's going to fix everything that came before and basically reset for when Shooty then obviously officially becomes the 15th Doctor.
No,
15th.
sci-fi is life. I would bury the timeless children. Make it a half human on my mother's side. We just never talk about it again. Whoops. Unfortunately,
He could address the timeless child, but it mightn't even be the Doctor. It could be a character that he's introduced into this 60th anniversary, folks. I don't think he's gonna go down the Chibnall route with this timeless child and make it the Doctor. I highly doubt it. I don't. RTD would be actually tying his hand behind his back then if he did that.
I would accept a good story if Susan were the timeless child. That would make complete sense. Now we know
Well,
the
the
Doctor.
rumor here's a wild rumor for you, right? So
Mhm.
apparently Neil Patrick Harris is Susan Foreman.
Really? That's a
Mm-hmm.
stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's a huge, huge stretch, but it's always those weird out there rumors that turn out to be true. So is Neil Patrick Harris's character in any way related to either related to Susan, or is Susan regenerated? I know it's a wild one. I don't believe it myself.
I gotta.
I can hear your stunned silence. That's the way I was when I saw this. Right?
Well, no, it's
I
just trying to. It's not that it can't happen if there's a good story. How do you connect the dots? I would even, like I
Yeah.
said, sci-fi said, yeah, Susan is as a timeless child would make sense because now we understand why he had a granddaughter. Why if Susan were the template, I would get that. Now we've covered up the story that it was actually the Doctor who was the protector of the timeless child, not the timeless child, and that's why he did that whole grandfather granddaughter thing so that he could, he protect the timeless child, and that's why he dropped her off at Earth. What's the one place that you
That
could
would be
hide
safer, would be Earth. Yeah. No, no, it
exactly,
makes sense.
hidden in plain sight, and she would have her own kid with the guy she fell in love with, and he finally goes, you know what, I need to let go of the timeless child and let her build her roots. That's why we got the whole roots. You need roots, Susan. So he finally gives up. This would actually back up the story. Instead of the Doctor, Susan would have been the timeless child, and he's been the protector the whole time. Now maybe he's forgotten. I'll give that little retcon deal that he forgotten that he was the protector of the timeless child. I don't know, but still, first of all, let's bring her back. Let's bring Susan back for just one. If not, give her a regeneration or something. But like I say, it's all about connecting the dots. It might work that Neil Patrick Harris might be Susan, but we're really stretching that rubber band to the core. I'm like, you better have a really good story if that's going to be the case. And I could not fathom, um, sci-fi is life says, what could we make sense out of that? And RTD
Mm.
might have something, I don't know. But then again, why would Susan turn evil on the Doctor? And all we know about the Doctor is he doesn't know who he is anymore, even though he's spent 3 lives figuring out who he is. Now he doesn't remember who he is anymore, and we got Beat the Meep somehow in there. So
Yeah, which I'm looking forward to, because apparently there has been money put into this, according to the people behind all of the effects and stuff like that, that they did actually have money to work on this, because they put up a photograph of Beat the Meep, and I tell you, it looks impressive close up. It really does. I'm excited still for this 60th. I mean, excitement hasn't waned at all, which is a good thing, which means the RTD is still doing and saying the right things. I do believe that there will be other announcements to come very soon.
I'm sure we're going to get
Um,
stuff. I'm RTD's not going to just
Red
leave
Nose
this
Day
blank.
might be the lot. Do you know what? Actually, you asked what else we might get on Red Nose Day. Do you know what we might get on Red Nose Day? We might either get, if there is a sonic screwdriver, get a sonic screwdriver reveal, but also the TARDIS interior. We might actually get a forced look at the TARDIS interior for Red Nose Day. Proper look. It's
Oh,
probably built and all now. So we've seen leaked photographs, but we haven't actually seen it yet in its entirety, like completed. So they might show us that or give us a little preview clip of the Doctor actually in the new Tardis. That would be brilliant.
it's such been a bad memory. Did the TARDIS implode again when she regenerated or something like that? Yeah, I think it did, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yes, it blew up.
Yeah, it
Yeah, the
imploded. So
usual crap.
it always
Except this
self
was the,
destructs.
yeah, remember in New Who, this is the first time, isn't it, that the Doctor regenerated outside the TARDIS, if I'm correct.
Regenerated outside the TARDIS, and from
Yeah,
what I understand, regenerated
with
his
clothes.
clothing,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I've been corrected. Somebody corrected me and said it's not the first time he's regenerated his
No, Trout.
clothes.
Yeah, I think it's, isn't it
Troutman.
Trouton? Yeah, Trouton. Yeah.
I did. It looks awesome. I love the fact that I do love the fact sci-fi life. Yet it is. I get them confused. Sci-fi is life. Yeah, it is. I like the fact that they're pushing on it's bigger on the inside. Then you can actually have things going on in the TARDIS and make the TARDIS its own persona. So, or I look at the new title sequence. Yeah, why
Yeah,
not? I'm
yeah. And
sure
then maybe
RTD is going to be
introduction to the
pushing
new,
out stuff.
who's going to be. We still haven't, have we gotten an announcement? Because I have been keeping an eye, but I don't think we still have gotten an announcement on who's doing the music, have we? This is the thing. This hasn't.
I thought they were pulling on. I heard rumors of Murray Gold coming back, but then I haven't heard any confirmation. Brisk, Matt Smith did well. The regeneration took place inside the TARDIS, but he was still cooking, quote unquote, when he was leaving the TARDIS, which they have. But to have an actual regeneration, like go from one
Yeah,
form
we
to the other,
seen it on
all but
screen. I
taken
should
care of.
make. Yeah, I should make it
So
clear on screen. We've only seen one
it's
Doctor.
it's the same explanation, and to this day, I will argue with people if you really look at it. If that was the case, then Jodie also regenerated outside the TARDIS because she had changed, and the TARDIS rejected her. Look at it again. Look at that whole segment again. People have been fighting me.
Listen,
and I said, if you look at it, the TARDIS is shaking,
course
opens
it
the
did.
doors, and throws her out.
No, it did. It did. Listen,
and it was like everybody's arguing. I'm like, no, take a look at it again. Trust
this
me.
is what makes me think that there's a lot more to this. Right, Chibnall has said a few things, right? I don't want to get bogged down on it, but he has said that you sent in to do a job. That's one of the quotes that I find very fascinating of all the quotes that he's made. Because what he's implying there is that the BBC deliberately sabotaged Doctor Who. That's what he's saying. Because that's what he did with his writing, right? The show was sabotaged, right? So, was this all a plan all along to give it to Chibs for him to be kind of, hate to say it, the scapegoat, right? They knew that he wasn't up for the job, but they had a mandate. They gave him that mandate, right? He did it very badly. BBC knew that he was doing so badly. That's why Piers Wenger convinced them to stay, right? Because they wanted the show to implode so they could bring RTD back in a blaze of glory, right? And then kind of reboot the show all over again, right? And start kind of from a fresh. I just don't know. There's always something that's bugged me about the whole Chris Chibnall era. You cannot be that stupid. And listen, Christian has made an absolute brilliant point. Outside Doctor Who, Chris Chibnall is actually not a bad writer. Now, he mentioned Broadchurch. Well, I'll mention something else. I'm a fan of Manchester United. And he did a movie based on the Munich air disaster where our club lost a lot of lives, a lot of footballers and reporters and all died on that. He did a movie based on that, and it was the most emotional thing. I still, to this day, when I get to the end of that movie, I still cry. It's some of the best written stuff. Now, listen, the source material is there, so we can't stray away from the source material, right? But if he sticks to the source material, right, as Christian said, this was a drama, emotional drama about a disaster that happened in their club's history. And he did an absolute wonderful job. It's one of my favourite pieces of stuff that Chris Chibnall has done. So he clearly has talent, right? So there just seems something off because we all said at the beginning when he was given the job. My first reaction was, really? Chris Chibnall? It didn't make sense. It never made sense. I don't know how you feel about it, Christian, but his appointment as showrunner to me never made any sense.
It did to me, but I'm coming from a perspective from the American side of things too, because I don't know. I think you know more about Chibnall than I do. You've seen more movies. He's done the BBC dramas. I only know Broadchurch, a few of the episodes, which weren't that great, but dinosaurs on a spaceship, 42, which I thought, and to this day, I think it was like, you stole from MASH, dude. Come on. You stole from MASH. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember MASH? Did they ever?
Yeah, yeah, I
The
used
one
to watch it
episode,
growing up.
yeah, there was one episode where they had a clock in the episode. It was a ticking clock in real time, and they were trying to save a patient. And this was the first time ever that they did this. They made it look like it was in real time, as opposed to, when they went to the commercial breaks and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So they did that similar thing with 42. It's like they had 42 minutes to save the ship or something like that. I don't remember that
yeah, it was
episode.
42 minutes by answering quiz questions when they were all drunk, and that was his way of moving the plot along.
Right. And just like, what a horrible, horrible plot device to, you could have just said, hey, we're locked down on the ship or something, or there's this monster coming in, we're stuck. You could have gone anything. I'm just like, really, this is what you came up with.
Yeah.
But the where is it going with it? I think I'm going to go with Brick's side. It's not, and here's the thing. I think the BBC knew it was going to send it back to the wilderness years. I think it was ready to go back. I mean, the
But
ratings
did
were
they
going
do it
down.
because they couldn't afford to do it anymore now because other companies, but obviously Bad Wolf has stepped in
Well,
and
well,
now.
well, let me give me the complete thought, and then I think you can pick my brain on this one. I think it was going downhill because remember, the guy from Babylon 5 wanted to be the showrunner, and he was rejected.
Mm.
So I think BBC. This is my personal opinion. BBC, when it was going a little bit more with the needle and pulling the woke button a little bit harder, found Chris Chibnall. And basically, Chris Chibnall was kind of the yes man because everybody's going. There was the argument that the BBC tells Chibnall what to do, which I think was the case. They were basically, Chris, we'll give you the opportunity, but here's what you're going to do. We're going to move it to Sundays. We're going to have a female doctor, yada, 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 yada. I think that's what was going on. Now, the argument was that people that I've heard on other podcasts go like, well, he had to do what the BBC does. And I said, but RTD used to fight back. I mean, RTD was famous and infamous about fighting the BBC with what
Well,
he
he
wanted
could. He was in
to
an
do.
even more powerful position than Stephen Moffat was because near the end, Stephen Moffat tried to push back on quite a lot of
Right.
the politics.
But I think Chibnall was okay. I'll do anything for this
Yeah.
job because I think they could tell him what to do. Now, whether I didn't listen to the whole Radio Free Scaro thing, so I can't. I can't. I started listening, and just like 10 minutes in, I was like, God, I can't listen anymore. It's just like I don't know what to think about this anymore. But and I'll try to get back to it so I can really give a proper designation. But he says it was his ideas and everything like that, and I think he kind of sided with the BBC in the direction it was going with it, that he was willing to take on whatever what we would consider off the wall stuff and implement it into New Who, and it just didn't work. I don't think he was that stupid. I think that's the direction they were going. And then, of course, if you take the Titanic and go towards the iceberg, what do you think is going to happen? So, it hits the iceberg, ratings drop, quality drops. The writing is, in my opinion, garbage for the most part. It just wasn't going in the right direction. I think Chibnall tried his best to steer it right, because remember, this was a guy who did not want anything of the classic nature to come back in the first season. What was the at the end result? Daleks. It was the same thing with Class. We're not going to have anything from Doctor Who, and what ended up happening? Weeping Angels. Here we're back. We got to save this thing. So it's, in my opinion, on that one, I think it's just because Chibnall probably sided with the BBC on what direction they wanted to take it. They took it. The audience was like, no, because there was one thing that was different, I think, with Chibnall. I've never saw him like do many interviews. When it came to like RTD and Moffat, they were always out there. And to me, Chris Chibnall was even more elusive, for not trying to say in the negative way, but how many interviews did he do for Doctor Who, or at least that I kind of watched, that he was explaining what was going on or what direction he was going to take, and it wasn't that many. So that's my opinion on that. And you just couldn't steer when you were going to the identity politics and everything of the nature. It was too much for Doctor Who. People are saying, just write me a good story. I don't care. When people are saying, we have all this diversity, writers, directors, producers, you don't see their faces, only the actors. What you see is the end result of writers, directors, and producers, because they're behind the camera. And I'm not saying nobody cares, but it's just like nobody can identify with them because they're behind the camera. Whether it's a female name that pops up on the screen, whether it's a female name or nobody sees who they are. So there's nothing to relate to except for what they put as a product into the show.
Exactly.
And if, it's like, okay, we have a great diversity. And like, oh, you have diversity of talent. You have diversity of, of some people who understand Doctor Who from classic and can write stuff to move into New Who. I think Maxine Atherton is the only one I would bring over. Everybody else can stay behind. Ed Boon or whoever wrote, Orphan 55, thanks, but no thanks, really. Bye.
Yeah, the person that wrote Orphan 55 actually wrote another one as well. And if I'm correct in saying, we reported on it at the time, I think they were the two lowest rated and worst episodes ever received. And I mean, Chibs didn't learn from his mistakes the first season and brought a lot of these writers back that just weren't capable. Maxine Alderton was a highlight out of a bad writing team, and even Pete Miteig, is it Pete Miteig? Pete Miteig also has to be mentioned. He did the what you call it, the Amazon one, the Amazon ripoff episode, the Kerblam man, Kerblam. So yeah, I mean, not bad, and I think RTD has taken some people across. It was reported. So I mean, if it is Maxine Alderton, he'll be there as showrunner and will guide her as a showrunner is supposed to do. The one thing that fascinates me, apparently in an article from the Radio Times, the only script that that Chris Chibnall didn't touch during his tenure as showrunner was the Nikola Tesla one, Night of Terrors, wasn't it? Was that what it was called? Night Terrors or Night of Terrors or whatever it was called. Awful.
Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. Well, yeah. It had the worst title.
Yeah. So apparently that was the only script that he didn't put his own influence on, is what I've seen in an article. And that's a bad reflection on him as showrunner, because he wouldn't have to have basically, held the hand of all of these writers and seen what they had written if he had got in people that actually had experience. And yes, we're not saying we're opposed to new blood, because new blood can see things in a different light to maybe people that are fans and writers of the show, right? But they need to be guided as well. And Chris Chibnall, just to me, didn't seem capable of doing that. He has thrown everybody under the bus, basically, with that comment. because he's basically saying, well, the writers were so incompetent that I had to go on and keep revising their scripts. Well, why did you bring those people in the first place? So again, Chris had to open his mouth. I think there's a bit of sour grapes, because RTD is getting his spin offs and stuff because he was speaking about spin offs as well. Chris Chibnall. Nobody, and I'm being honest here, nobody would have been interested in a Chris Chibnall spin off of any kind during his run
That's why I
on
don't think he
Doctor Who.
had one. And even he brought back the Paternoster Gang, and I'm thinking like, not if you're writing it, my friends. But
No,
I'm calling on Peter Harrington and Sci-Fi Is Life. The first thing, yeah, day one, gay Muslim director and the first woman female producer. Yeah, this thing. Every time I hear somebody go, yeah, this was a white man. No, it wasn't.
no,
Maybe
I hate
maybe
that
as the
comment.
doctor, but in its bloodline flowing through. And yes, again, you don't see the behind the scenes. You
That's
don't
what
see
I
the
mean. We've
directors,
had
producers, and all.
female writers, we've had female directors,
Exactly.
we've had all sorts behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
Right.
Also, I'm sick of that whole narrative that started up when Jodie was cast and all of this. That was a boys' club and the male gays and all of that other
Right,
nonsense.
which means
No,
Jody had no idea what was going on. And it's like Jody, there was this producer named John Nathan Turner for a good for a good decade, for at least a 3-run Doctor, if not fourth, if you want to count Tom Baker. That I'm sure behind the scenes there were a lot of people who were homosexuals, and that nobody cared.
no,
We knew. We just we didn't make it a big deal.
it
We
was all
knew.
about the writing,
Yeah,
all
it was
about
all
the
about the
writing.
writing and what was going on, and even JNT was pulling in Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, worked with Tom Baker, and it's like it didn't really. I diversity of talent is what I'm missing. Diversity of good writing. I don't care what you look like. I care what you put on print. I care what you do in front of the camera, behind the camera. That's what I care about. If you can give me a good story and good acting, don't care what you look like.
Exactly. Exactly. All we care about is good stories, uh, decent characters that we can relate to, and like all sci-fi fans, we like to see our aliens and their space battles and stuff like that. That's why we're Doctor Who fans. We love it. But look, we could harp on about that man all day, and I don't want to. So I'm gonna leave it there for today because that's all we actually have for you. There's nothing more really to talk about. So what we'll do is we'll get Christian to do his shout outs and stuff like that. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for taking part as well. We really do appreciate all your comments. They do help the algorithm, as Christian does always say as well. So go and subscribe to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and I'll let Christian go ahead and do the shout outs, and then we will wrap it up there, folks.
Oh yeah, the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. YouTube, it's youtube.com/the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Help us reach the big 3K. Please help Noel get up to the 3 big K too. Subscribe, like, share, and definitely comment, because that's how we're going to get the algorithms going on each of our shows. Our next show, we're going to be reviewing where it's called we're to go forward, we're going back. So we're reviewing Doctor Who shows we never did. We never did Classic Who, what I've called new Classic Who, because we started the day before Jodie did. So we basically just reviewed Jodie's stuff. We haven't gone back and reviewed anything before that, with the exception of maybe the TV movie and such, for reasons. But now the next episode we're going to do is The End of the World. Plus, a week after that, I will leave this to your impression. I might have announced it on here last week. We will have a celebrity interview, but I will drop this hint. This person was a big star in the 80s, and I'll leave it at that. And if you know anything about this person, you've already guessed it right away. So this person was a big star in the 80s. Please go on over, like, share, subscribe. And on our Facebook page, we're closing in on 67,000 subscribers. We're trying to get 70,000, which I kind of like, because that means our Facebook page will be tied with Big Fish. It's just like the more that you help us out, me and Noel, the more that we can get your voices out there, the more we can get all of our voices out there. Independent creators, that's what it takes, because we're not part of the establishment. We help each other out. Noel gives his take, holds no bards. He says it like it is, as always, every week, as he should. And I have a show where everybody's welcome to the dinner table. Everybody has their own opinion, has their own take, and we welcome all, the diversity. Doesn't matter what, diversity of thought, diversity of talent, diversity of ideas. Bring it to the table. We're here for you, and we both, I'm sure I speak for Noel, we both appreciate everything that you bring to us. Just by even being here, it means a lot to us. So please subscribe. I'm also on TikTok for whatever darn reason. I picked that reason, but that's about it. Noel, did you have any closing thoughts before?
Just go and subscribe to the usual suspects, folks. Jack Rabbit, Scottish Davros and Friends, Wrestle with Pop Culture. Gobby Guy's stream will be now on Sunday for anybody. Gobby is having issues with his internet, so he will be doing his stream on Sunday with John the White, where they discuss.
Oh, brother, I think we lost your audio.
Doctor Who. You lost me audio, did you?
Just a little bit. Well, go to Gobby Guy. Yep, he's restarted everything. Gobby Guy, you definitely want to follow.
On Sunday, yeah. He has a stream on Sunday with John. As I said, it was supposed to be today, but they're having internet issues, so it's pushed until Sunday. So go and check that out. And I'm back tonight with Lee and Chris, and we've got plenty to discuss on Friday night contact. So come and join us for that. And that is it for this week. Hopefully, we get some Doctor Who news during the week that we can talk about next week. We'll be keeping an eye. I think Red Nose Day is next week. Someone asked earlier in the chat. I think that might be next week. If it is, we'll see what happens, because I might. Depends when the skit is on. But if we get, I'll check and see if there's a timetable. And see if we can go live and do a live reaction if it doesn't interfere with other streams that we do on Friday. Maybe try sandwich it in between the two if we can. So we'll keep an eye on that. So we'll leave it there for now. We will be back later on tonight at 9. I'm going to make a salad now. I've been on a healthy buzz now this last week. Get myself back in shape for the summer. Because I've kind of
I call it the COVID calories. Everybody's forgiven.
Yeah. I agree. But I need to get back, because I'm starting to get my fitness back now again, and it feels great. So and eating the right way is definitely helping. I'm not cutting out meat or anything like that. It's just everything in moderation now. And that's all it is, really. That's what I'd say to people. People fail because they pull up goals and, and targets and stuff. And they try to be militant about it, stuff, and just eat vegetables and all of that. No, man. All you do is a balanced diet, man. And in moderation. And trust me, you'll see yourself feeling a lot better, a lot more energy, and you will. The weight does fall off you, man. So give it a go if you want to. Of course, I mean, if you're happy the way you are, I just getting sick and tired of being tired all the time, and I need a bit of energy, especially doing this sort of thing. So getting myself in shape.
I got convention in 2 weeks. MegaCon in Orlando at the end of it, and it just like Pensacon killed me. But then again, it was an 8-hour drive, so it really killed me. MegaCon's just outside the house, but it's 4 days long, and the team will be there. We're going to be with the Dalek Builders of Florida at the same booth, so we will have a big Doctor Who area out there. If you're in Orlando or in the Orlando area, please come out. We'll see you there. Dress your Whovian so that we can get a picture with you at the traveling TARDIS.
That's it. Go and check them out, and maybe again if he gets the chance, because obviously you won't be streaming that week. Um, maybe we'll get him on again, like he did, show us around his little booth and stuff like that. Obviously, we're not promising that, because it depends on Wi-Fi and stuff like that where he is, because um, a lot of these events, I have to say they do kind of try and accommodate for that, because they do know that a lot of YouTubers and streamers go to these things. So hopefully, if the Wi-Fi service is good.
Well, it depends on the convention. They'll try to attribute if you will help them out financially, pay for the Wi-Fi service. So, that day I think I was running off at Pensacon. I was running off of my own Wi-Fi. So
Yeah.
because I was outside too, and luckily it wasn't too much of a drag. But yeah, it was wacky at times. I could tell.
Anyway, we will leave it there, folks. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you tonight. But if I don't see some of you in the chat later on tonight, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week. For the rest of you, we'll see you tonight at 9 with myself, Chris from Cultivated Media Incorporated, and also Lee, aka Problem Being. So come and join us at 9 o'clock tonight. We will leave it there, folks. Have a good evening. Well, yes, it is evening. Jeez, I'm losing track of time. Have a good evening. See you soon. Have a good one, folks. Bye-bye.
Stay safe, guys. Bye.